Hello everyone, Dark Emperor here. On Twitch, you guys might also know me as Zombie Wookie on Dungeon Defender 2. We all know that EV2 is one of the best builder in this game currently. She is what we would call meta. Why is that? She has her Proton Beam, that is really good CC. She has Whip Man, that can do the electrocute combo by itself, which is amazing. Her buff isn't the greatest, and then her last defense is going to be Reflect Beam. So, I know a lot of players know about the utility aspect of it, how you can reflect projectiles, protect you from ranged enemies, from flyers, like you can put that right at the core and flyers will just try to hit it over and over again and fail to do so most of the time. But what most players don't know is that EV2, especially with her Reflect Beam, has actually potential as damage dealer, as a real tower, not just support. So I'm just gonna show that right now. So we'll just start with basic buff, and then I'm gonna put a boost so we can see how it goes, see how it is, how good it is. And then I will put a reflect right here on the dummy. Okay, so the one I will be placing right now is going to be 50 DU. That isn't too expensive for a damage dealing defense. And now, how does it work? You can see the first node exploding, then the second one, and then the third one, and finally the fourth one. There's always going to be a few seconds before the defense starts fully. And then it's always going to proc for one after the other. It is possible to have more nodes using numerous reflection. That is a shard, but it is not useful. It is just not worth it. So let's look at the DPS of that beast. I'm calling it a beast because it is really strong and totally underrated. I feel like in this case, this defense right here is the underdog. Everyone thinks it's crap. Everyone thinks it's only useful for utility. It's only useful to block range enemies, right? But here's the thing, it can actually deal awesome DPS on its own, especially if it's buffed. So right now with this 50 DU defense, we have, if we look at tooltip, it's only going to show 700k DPS, right? But that is bugged. It is as bugged as the Whipman that doesn't show the correct tooltip. So we need to look at the damage itself, and right now at T1 it's already 9.15 million damage. Of course I do have good relics, ascension, so you guys might not have that if you're just starting in this game, but it's still gonna be good. So if we look at DPS for 50 DU, we can get 20 million DPS tier 1, and it can be upgraded. The best part of it is only one defense that has 4 nodes. So that means you get the equivalent of 4 auras that are all linked to the Reflect Beam. So that means it will target a lot of enemies, so you won't have as many problems with big lanes. All that damage, all these explosions are AoE. So all that 20 million, it's doing it AoE to all targets nearby, all of them, 40 of them. Of course there is the issue of a limit of 10 per node, but it's still pretty amazing. It's better than most defenses. And because it's only one defense, you can do this. You can upgrade it, and all the nodes are all getting upgraded at once. So with each upgrade, you get the equivalent of 4 upgrades. So right now, we can see that we just doubled our DPS. It went from 20 million to 40 million DPS. Of course, that's gonna vary a lot, especially because there's crit involved and there's 4 nodes, so it can, if all the nodes don't crit, then it's not gonna be high, and if all the nodes crit, it's gonna be pretty high. I think the best that I saw was something like 50 something million, like straight up with this one setup. Okay, so let's talk about why it's strong and why it can be weak sometimes. All in all, I would say that this defense isn't OP by any mean, but I would say it is strong enough to be meta. Like really strong enough. I have been using this at my floor, and it has been working for me. And that is floor 600 plus. So just the fact that it's working at this floor is a good indication that it's pretty decent, pretty good defense. Okay, so let's talk about what it's good at. It's AoE, lots of damage, can hit multiple enemies because 4 nodes. But here's what it's not going to be good at. First of all, cyborgs. If you just place that in cyborg lane and hope it does well, it's not going to end well. It's going to get disabled and then you don't have any damage and they'll just walk right through and they will destroy your core. It's not what you want, for sure. Now, there's another enemy that is really bad for these reflect, and that is frost lanes. If you have frost orcs that are coming in, they could slow your reflect and then it's not going to be as good. It's not going to be useful, but it's not going to be a beast anymore. It's just going to be pretty weak defense if it's frozen. So let's see. First of all, frost orcs, I would suggest just using flame auras to deal with that. So that would be the only lane that I would suggest not using reflect on. Now, the other counter to this defense are cyborgs. Can you deal with cyborgs? The answer is yes. However, for that you will need 100% tenacity. That means a tenacity mod that is 10 out of 10. Like you guys can see is the last one on this relic. That is 10 out of 10, and the relic will have to be C8. So if you guys are still AP resetting, it's probably not gonna be the best defense ever. But if you guys can afford one C8M, it's gonna be really amazing. So do you need tenacity on your reflect beam that does damage? No, you do not, but you need one. So here's what we could do to tackle cyborgs. Let's say this reflect right now that I'm using doesn't have tenacity. That would just be a damage reflect. So I'm just gonna put that here. Let's say that this is what I'm counting on to do damage. This is gonna explode, and all enemies are just gonna walk here and die in here. Around here it's pretty decent range if you have max range. So now if there's our cyborgs, they're just gonna come here and disable it. What can I do to prevent that? If you guys have a tenacity reflect, it can be another one. Like all you need is that tenacity mod. C8, you can have nothing else, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be possible to just put a reflect like so, and done. You can just have a little reflect like this sticking out to aggro cyborgs before that one actually aggroes them. So they're just gonna circle around it and just hit this one because it's the first one they see, and eventually die because of that one. So overall, do you need tenacity? Yes. Does it have to be on this damage relic? No, it does not have to be on your reflect, on your main reflect defense. But for me, I went with the tenacity relic on my damage dealing one, so I got rid of that, and I got a 10 out of 10 tenacity on my relic. So what's that gonna be really good at is now, instead of being a liability, cyborgs are just amazing. They just come here, they try to hit that hole right there, and they just die. They cannot do anything, they just stay here and die eventually. So that's pretty amazing. And if you have a torch, the mini boss that is pretty much the buffed version of a sort of cyborg, is gonna do the same, and he's gonna die. So that leaves only, if you have tenacity, that leaves only frost orcs that are a problem, and for that you can use another defense. I would recommend the flame aura whenever applicable. And even on regular frost lanes, if there are no frost orcs, the reflect has so high damage, as we can see there, that it's going to be enough to kill pretty much anything that comes in that lane. So you won't need any other frost specific defense, only one that can deal with frost orcs. That will be all you need. And sometimes I'll do a mix of both. I'll have a reflect, and then I'll just put 2 flame auras on the side that are optimized to deal with frost orc. Alright, so So that was a bit of like, that was a long part, but I feel like I needed to say that because it's important. Now let's see how this is built. So for shards, you will need 3 shards for sure if you want to reach max damage. So here's the thing, because you want 3 shards, you will need for sure a defense rate mod that is going to be 10 out of 10 and C8. Now this build isn't the cheapest because it requires C8 relics, right? But overall, it is worth it. So with that rate mod, we are able to use 1 more shard, and that is going to be mass destruction for tons of damage, destruction for even more tons of damage, and finally vicious strike. Vicious strike is needed in this defense. You cannot not use it. Why? Because it brings the range from, let me just remove that, from, it's not updated, okay, so pretty much 300, which isn't that big, to 800. And the fact that this is radius makes a big difference. So pretty much with max range, it's gonna be about this range, to be honest. Maybe a little more, yeah, a little more than this. It's gonna be around this for the explosion radius. That is pretty good. Now just try imagining like a boost all around here, all around here. That is literally right here, that is a big aura that is just dishing out the pain non-stop with every explosion it does. So that's pretty good. So because you need that range, because you want to stack that destruction, you need that raid mod. And after that, the 2 others are pretty much up to you. You will either need a tenacity, a max tenacity on that reflect beam, or a bait tenacity on another one. It doesn't matter where you put it, it's up to you. It's really up to you. And the last mod, whatever you want to use. If you use Weapon Man, then Controller might be good. If you want to use, I feel like anti-melee is pretty good, just because most enemies that are troublesome are going to be melee. Anti-Orc could be a decent choice. There's a few choices that you can actually use that are pretty good. So, oh yeah, another strong point of this build, it can actually kill rollers. Like, I will show a video later about it, where you just have rollers coming, like just a high roller lane, right? And they'll just roll, go into reflect, and then just die, without us doing any damage whatsoever. So this is a good roller killer, and it works even on my floor, even with the defense not optimized for rollers. So what that means is, you can have that build set up in every lane, except the Frost Arc lanes. And whenever you get a surprise roller, right, he's just gonna die anyway, because of that defense. Or he's gonna, if you're really high floor, then he might survive, but it's gonna be really low afterward, and you can easily take him down, if you have your DPS equipped, of course. So, that is why, that is what I wanted mostly to show. Now, I need to agree that that is a lot of investment, because you need C8, because you need also good mods, right? You need tenacity needs to be 10 out of 10, and also rate needs to be 10 out of 10. Otherwise, it's not good. So I would suggest the easiest way to do that, because these mods are usually the ones that are expensive, right? When you're training 2 other players, it's gonna be something like 50 million, which some players just cannot afford. So I would say the easiest way to get those mods is using pristine tokens. You get those in Frost maps or in Onslaught, and with 300, a little bit less actually, you get a guaranteed 10 out of 10 mod. So for these 2 mods, I would just suggest you just reroll them until you get 10 out of 10. If you so desire to use this build. So it is especially strong, and to prove it, I'm gonna add a few clips of pretty much me using streaming with that defense. That is my general build right now. That is what I will be building pretty much always on every lane. So it is possible to see if you guys ever want to watch the stream, you can come in, say hi if you have any question, and you will be able to pretty much see how I'm placing it, see what variations are sometimes important. So anyway, I will put a few clips, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it at the beginning, but I'm a French Canadian. So if some of you guys are watching and your main language is French, then I will happily answer you in my main language. So that is going to be all for now. Thanks for watching in advance.